Today on Game Must Couch,
Magic Maze.
Welcome to the jungle, the labyrinth, the maze of board games, also called Game Must Couch. This is Daniel, I'm Sarah. We are married board gamers and weird people. And today we're also a couple of thieves that want to run around in a mall, get some equipment, and get the heck out of there. I love that. I'm gonna have so much fun with editing, looking at you then instead of the camera.
It's not proper sign language. I'm not capable of doing
Oh, I forgot pretty much all about sign language. Anyway, let's not get distracted too much. We have a job to do. We need some more equipment, accessories, weapons, all that stuff. But before we go into the mall and leave the credit card at home, let me tell you how this video goes. In case you are new and you don't know the rhythm and the way we approach board game talking, we talk about rules and gameplay first. Usually we play a round or two. It's going to be a bit more tricky with this game, but we're gonna hopefully manage to tell you or give you an idea on how this game plays and if it maybe is for you. Then we talk about what we liked or not liked about this game and have a little thumb rating. This is a very important tool and it goes all the way like this. And then we talk about funny stories and experiences. And every other week we do have a teaser for another show that I have on the channel, which is Board Game Art. And it's called Draw for Initiative. But this week we don't have a teaser because we just published. But let me tell you what we published. It was the 50th episode, a special episode for Draw for Initiative. It was for Mechs versus Minions. And we had digital art there as a special. And the link in the iCards there leads you to the video if you want to maybe put it onto your watch later list so that you can watch this one first. Now, my love, can you please tell the folks rules and gameplay? And please do not use any kind of sign language. Do the talking with the mouth, please.
Okay.
This is off to a good start.
Sarah already attended to all the spoilery story bits of this game. We are playing four adventurers who have to get new equipment. So essentially what we're doing is we're all planning and running with a heist, trying to get out of the mall alive. And the interesting bit about this is that none of us is playing one dude in particular, but everybody is playing all the four dudes. This game can be played by yourself or up to 8 players, and that is the reason why you don't have one guy assigned. You don't have suddenly 8 adventurers you have to care for. It's still 4, and trust me, you're better off that way, that it's just 4 and not any more.
One would be fine.
Yes. This is a real-time cooperative game, meaning you are trying to steal and run away with stuff together. If you are familiar with other heist games, like Burgle Bros, which we talked about earlier.
It's in the iCards.
This has... Well, it's certainly not the same feel, but it seems to be in a similar wheel space. You're trying to break in, get to the point where you get the good stuff, and then you escape through it. Which also brings us to a similarity to another game called Escape, which we haven't talked about yet, but is also a cooperative game in that case, that it is also a real-time game like this is. Because you don't have turns or rounds in which you act, you have to work with time, real time, well, in its little crystalline sand form. But that means that everything is going to be a little bit more frantic at the table. So each player, and that is now depending on how many players you have, has one of these.
You can go to the big camera if you like.
Okay, has one of these little tiles in front of them, which essentially explains to you what moves you can do with any of the adventurers. So let me start with Sarah's, because there's less symbols on here. First of all, you have to arrange these that they point in the same north direction as the tile that is on here, which obviously makes sense. And that means that during the game, Sarah can move guys to the north or to the west. So
and it's called east?
The other west. My west.
Go west.
Right? It's the western way of talking about the east.
Oh, God. You know that I have to flip the cameras for this. I know, but still, this is east. This is not.
Now you can flip it multiple ways until it's east, west, whatever, west ever. So we're off to a good start. Good thing is you don't have to know the names of the directions. You just have to comprehend the direction where the arrow is pointing. So, so for example, if it is Sarah's turn, or not her turn, but if she wants to, she can move this guy to the north, but she cannot move him back to the south because that is actually my ability. So I can move into the other two directions. And if you're playing with more than two people, everybody gets less and less actions they can do, so you have to coordinate. And I specifically say coordinate and not communicate, because while you're doing this, moving guys around, you are not able to talk to another or to give them any hints or anything. The only thing you have is this pumple, which is the correct way of talking about this thing, which you can place in front of someone and stare at them to remind them that they still have something to do that they haven't done yet, which is essentially all. You can plan beforehand, obviously. You could agree on, hey, let's first try to move this guy, or let's try to explore as far as we can with the obvious thing, but yeah. There's still a couple of symbols remaining here. The third symbol that Sarah has is a warp symbol. That means she can take any adventurer at any time and move them to one of their corresponding warp symbols. It might be that we uncover more later during the game. So wherever someone is, you can always move them there. Then, coming to my side, my two icons here are, I can use escalators. So there's some escalators printed on here. So if the green guy, I could actually move the green guy here, because I can move him south, and then I can use the escalators. So I can move him over here, which would be a valid move. The looking glass is the explore action, and you see that this looking glass can be found all over at the corners of the board, and whenever I use a looking glass action, you just take the next tile, reveal it. They have a little arrow on here, then you arrange the arrow so that the tile is placed on here. And you can see that we already have a new warp in here, so if Sarah wants to move the purple guy here, she could do that in that form. The objective of the game is to find the 4 items that these adventurers want and then escape to the exit. So the game actually comes with a multiple of scenarios. We just used the very first one to give you a good idea of the basics of the game. There are more gameplay elements introduced with the later ones, which I'll show you in a second. But in this very first scenario, actually, this is the exit that all the 4 guys have to go through. So if we would have, let's say, I move yellow here and do another explore action. Again, put the arrow on here, and there we already found the item that the purple guy has to find. Now, there's some other things you have to pay attention to. First of all, you cannot walk through other adventurers. So, meaning even if we want to get the purple guy here, we first have to get the yellow guy out of the way, and that could happen by me moving over here. So this is a space I can put him on, or Sarah could move him over here, or to the warp, or whatever. So I could, since I can move south, can move here, and then Sarah moves over there, and I'm down here, and then over here, and Sarah moves up there. And these guys, we just let them stay on these spaces, because to do a proper heist, you have to do it at the same time. Meaning, essentially, we would have to uncover, let's say, Sarah moved him up here, we have to uncover all the spaces where the other guys are, and I'll just start doing some tiles. So just imagine we were uncovering them, and obviously as you can see, tiles, if you all you have to do is you assign the arrow to the space where you're coming from. That means that certain other entries might get blocked, meaning obviously here's a wall, you cannot go through that. But if through this setup for some reason two exits or entries form, they can still be used. So let me put this guy here, and the last one, let's put him here. I hope that, I managed to put them where everything else on camera. So essentially, the first half of the game, you are exploring, trying to figure out where all these spaces are, and effectively, you will end up in a situation where everybody is standing on the item that they want to have, at which point you all can agree to do the heist, and this little tile reminds you of what to do. So everybody has to get to their colored space, and then if the heist starts, you turn that over, and now everybody has to get to the exit. In a more complex game, you actually have an exit per guy. In this very first intro game, there's only one exit, making it a little bit easier. But typically, you would have to get everybody to the exit of their color. So meaning purple goes to the purple exit, and then the other guys go to whatever other exits they have. To make things a little bit more annoying, the warp action is not available anymore once the heist started. For some reason, transdimensional travel is not a possibility as soon as the security goes off. Which actually makes sense. It would make sense in a shopping mall if they have a major heist that they turn on the elevators and escalators, maybe something like that. I don't know.
No clue, but I just know that the Cthulhu portals are also closed. So
true.
You don't want to get them any further away than you have to.
To remind of us that the player who has the warp tile just turns it over, and now also knows that he or she cannot use the warp. And after, if all four get to the exit or their respective exits, you congratulations have won and escaped with all the goods. Now, where is this challenging? Well, as I said, this is a game that plays in real time, meaning if you start the game, you will turn over the clock. This is a 3-minute clock, and if this clock ever runs out, you lose the game. So what you can do is turn it over, have it run, do your stuff, and in order to turn it over again to the other side, you have to go to one of these clock shapes or symbols and use them. When you use them, you put an X on it to mark it as used up. And careful, don't use them too early, because effectively what you do, you just turn over the clock. If you turn it over immediately, that means there's still the side with the less sand on the up, which isn't helpful at all. But those are your recharges to get more time, which will be essential. It is very unlikely that you explore, steal, and escape in 3 minutes, although it might be possible if you are all very fast-fingered in doing all this. Remember that you still get in each other's way. In the base game, that is essentially all you have to know for rules, but let's talk a little bit about the more interesting rules that come up later on.
There's one more. Only one player can touch a pimple.
Right. Well, but that makes sense. This is not a Ouija board, so...
Who knows? Maybe at one point.
Ouija, whatever.
Bitchy, as the Saxonians say.
But I forgot something else to mention. So I said you are not allowed to talk. However, there is a little exception to the rule. Whenever you use this to turn over the clock, you are then allowed to talk until you take another action. So these spaces not only give you a chance to refill your time, but it also gives you a chance to finally tell someone what they've been doing wrong the entire time and what you mean if you throw that purple in front of their face. And then clarify a little bit on the strategy, so to speak. Regardless of talking about the more interesting rules, in later games, certain other aspects are introduced. One I already mentioned, that would be that you have specific exits for each adventurer. Another thing that will certainly mess you up is you have to turn cards around whenever you recharge the clock. So with that rule, whenever you use one of these spaces to recharge your time, you give your instruction tile to the player on your left, essentially changing what you are allowed to do during the game every time you recharge the clock, which can be confusing. Mostly, it's always confusing.
Sometimes you forget to pass it and then somebody screams, "We have to pass the time!"
Or sometimes you think, oh, I can do, oh no, I cannot, I don't have that ability anymore. Mm-hmm. And to give you an idea for multiple players, there's more of these in here. They all have a little number down here, which you probably cannot read, but this says for 3 players. This is for 7 to 8 players, and so on. So every player gets essentially one of these 7 actions that are printed on here. And if you're playing with 8 players, for example, and it kind of might confuse people if you switch that up. Other rules that come in actually need some more specific tiles. First of all, let me show you these are the other exits, so you can see the exit for the yellow dude, for the orange dude, for the green dude. The manual comes with scenarios that give you a little bit of story fluff and then tell you what tiles to include. These all have numbers with them, and so that you can customize the entire thing. And then going on forward, you have some special character abilities which are introduced in terms of the green guy. If he's used to explore, and that's why the little speaker symbol is on here, you also are allowed to talk until you take your first other action. And talking in that case, just to make it clear, doesn't mean that time stops. So you have to be quick about it. But this gives you another chance to quickly tell somebody else what to do. So, and these can only be used while you explore, meaning if the tile is already there just by passing through, that doesn't mean that you can talk to someone else. Then we have the orange guy, the dwarf. The dwarf is rather small, so he is the only one who can move through these obstacles here, these tunnels. And then we have the wizard in purple. The wizard can use these big balls of fortune telling. these allow you to explore tiles in the mall without being there. So essentially, if the purple guy is on this space, you can explore 2 other tiles without actually being there of any color, which...
So for this game, the spell is not Expelliarmus, but Exploriarmus, so that you can...
Yes, something
totally
like
fast exploring. See?
And last but not least, this security camera here, if there's 2 or more security cameras on the board, you cannot use these time recharge things, which is devastating for your survival. To get rid of that, have the yellow, the barbarian, go on this space and smash the camera. So that's another specific character action you can do. So you see that there's a lot going on there, and the more gameplay stuff is introduced, the more important or the more crippling it is that you're not allowed to talk while doing that stuff. So make sure your brain sync is working, and then you have a pretty good chance of escaping from the mall with all the stuff.
Polish the Bluetooth chips before you start playing.
Correct.
So shall we hop into the next section? Are you?
Yes.
You have to say player age use.
Yeah, I also want to say, usually we set this up and play around, but we decided while this is really fun playing in a group, if you're totally under stress and with the time, it I think makes for poor video, because that would mean that we are just staring angrily at each other without any talking going on.
Well, I could add some fun music like heist music or something. I mean, I do have a vast
like
library
the
of
Benny Hill song.
Yeah, or like I have a vast library, but I think you also thought, well, let's cut Sarah some slack and give her some leisure time tonight and not only edit for 500 hours.
Yes.
You're such a good husband.
So this is...
So you have to play with us on Board Game Geek Con in Dallas if you're there, and we have this game available and you want to play.
Yes.
Then we can be silent with each other.
So this game is for thieves for very small spaces, so starting ages 8 and up. No, it's like with Star-Lord that he got adopted because he can get into the...
Very important.
It takes... it says 3 to 15 minutes, which is
very accurate.
One of the few games that has a very accurate timing description.
Oh, would that? I don't know how they do that.
Yeah. And it's for 1 up to 8 players. If you're playing just 1 player, the rules slightly differ. And you get these smaller...
And you make the longer arms.
Smaller cards here, and have some rule changes, because obviously you won't have all the actions available at all the time. So you will do some working through that to get these actions. Wow, talking is really difficult today.
Take a sip of coffee.
I'm exhausted from all the mental heisting doing that. So that's Magic Maze, and since I tend to forget, this game was made by Casper Lapp. Caspar Lapp.
Yeah.
Or Casper Lapp. Or Caspar Lapp. Can
you please sip some coffee while I talk about what I like? You're most welcome.
Now this is a vlog. You just and I like flowers. And
no, I mean about.
And I'll have my coffee.
Thank you. Likes and dislikes. Now, this is one of the nominees for Spiel des Jahres, and I could totally see why it is on the list. I think it is a very stressful, yet very fun family game. You definitely need to be present, awake, and involved at the table. So no dozing off, no just sitting there waiting for your turn, because you constantly have to be there, which is kind of fun. And I think, especially in families with young kids, they're really at the table. You can grasp their attention, and they're there, and they are on a illegal thing with you, which is kind of fun. So I really like that. It definitely is a very exhausting game, and I can a max of 2 games in a night is, for my brain. So I think if you look for a dinner game, maybe, that you can play like for a short amount of time every night after dinner with your kids, and you like the theme and the colors and everything, and you want to play real time but really short, this is the one that definitely would get a good spot on the table for me. I really like the artwork, the colors, the components are lovely as per usual with Pegasus games. And it's so fast to set up. You read the scenario rules that you want to play. If you play scenario by scenario, it's very likely that you don't get it like the first time. So you know from the night before how you have to set it up, which makes it even quicker. But it's like a minute or two, ta-da, you're done and you can play. So somebody gets the dishes to the kitchen, the others set up, and there you have your family post-dinner heist set up.
And I wanted to throw in, so the game comes with 17 different scenarios, although I think the first 6 are there to explain the rules, with the 7th being the one that I think incorporates everything.
Yeah, and you get kind of like a little score book to see how good you are and everything.
But also the other scenarios introduce more complications. Let's put it this way, where as some prevent you from talking at all, and some force you that only a certain number of pupils may be on the same tile and stuff like that. So it gets more and more complicated, and the higher you feel for achieving a heist if you are able to achieve the heist.
Yeah. And it's a very silent game, of course. Well, you cannot communicate and you cannot make any noises or gestures or anything. So you kind of have to be...
So you're saying
intuitive with how it's very beneficial, and I like that when you know how the other person thinks. So you could maybe have the brain sync there a little bit, but I think it's also a lot of fun, and I'm gonna go into that a bit more in the experiences when you don't really know how other people think. And then you have the pure chaos.
Or if they don't know what to think.
And the only thing you hear is giggle at the table. And again, I'm going to tell that story, so I'm going to prevent, I'm going to restrain myself and not tell it now. But I think it's very, very nice to, try to see something from the other player's perspective, and then once the game is done, everybody goes bah, 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 and talking about I did this and that, or why didn't you do that, so it sparks conversation afterwards. And I think that is one quality I really like about this game, especially with families with younger kids. There's something to teach there, so I like that a lot. And for the seasoned gamer, it's a very good thing to sometimes feel like running around like a headless chicken, and not, especially when you are one of those gamers that is very capable in seeing mechanics, strategy, and kind of having almost an intuitive way to go into games and go for the efficient way right away. You sometimes are a bit overwhelmed by maybe the other players that do not move the puppet the way you want them to move the puppet, and you cannot smack them or anything. So I like that for the seasoned gamer, and I see why it is on the nominee list there. And that's my 1,500 cents, and now you can talk. Sorry.
So you effectively, what you're saying, and that pun was relevant 5 minutes ago when Sarah started talking, which
one?
is in Magic Maze, no one can hear you scream.
Okay.
As an alien in space, no one can hear you scream.
And now you know again, I did not see aliens. I'm not getting any puns.
Things I like about this game, I think it very aptly combines certain things from those real-time stressful games that I like. I like the tile exploration, which you may know from the escape games. I like everybody is doing something very quickly, which I mean, and this doesn't use dice, so it's it at least to me it feels as stressful as the escape games or Sushi Dice or something like that. Any real time game, or maybe even Captain Sonar. But you don't have dice chucking around or getting angry at that. You are still looking at what's happening together, if that makes sense. It's not, you're not in your little space.
And it's not as luck based as it is with dice. It doesn't feel like that. It's luck based with the other players, but you cannot roll them.
This is entirely deterministic. So
but you can. I mean, it's kind of luck based if your co-players are doing the right thing, but yeah.
And obviously, as with all these cooperative games that limit your communication, that essentially ends up probably being more house rules, depending on whom you're playing with. If you're playing with your kids, you might be a little bit more lenient to what you allow and whatnot.
Or you just want them to be quiet for 15 minutes.
Something I also like about this, so this is a perfectly fine game for, let's say, 2 or 3 players. And I can see, we haven't played it with 8, but I can see that this would be perfectly also working with 8. Although, actually, the manual does recommend that then you might want to get rid of your chairs and just move around the table instead of moving these things so that everybody has a better chance of getting into that stuff. But that makes it to one of the few games that is entirely viable as I'd say, filler game or as a party game for multiple players. It also, I think, is probably going to go well on cons, because you are not allowed to talk, or you don't have to hear a music track, so this even works in a noisy environment. The noisy environment might even help you, because then you don't hear the staring at you as loud.
Yeah, and you feel like you're in a mall. It's really noisy in the big malls too, so I expect this to be at BGG-Con this year and be played there a lot.
I'd be surprised if not all the nominees are there.
Yeah, but I mean... Yeah, I'm not really sure about the exit games that they will be there, because you can only play them once. But this is a perfect con game where you have the noise and you meet new players and
fast to play.
Learn how to play.
This is totally a game if you have a bigger party environment where I can see that you set it up and people are playing around, set it up again, and then whoever comes and goes in there. It's and it's less fiddly to set up to let's say than something like Rampage or Terror in Maple City, which I would also has this colorful fun aspect and.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very little components, quantity-wise, and you just stack everything. You don't need a huge table. You need a reasonably big dinner table, maybe, or something. But there's nothing silly about it, so I would definitely agree. And you can just, have a bit of fun. It's so fast to set up and put away that you can definitely make it a dinner game. I would classify it as. a dinner family game for me.
I also have to say I really like some of the little jokey images that are on the tiles. If you can take a look, I mean, these are essentially, this is a mall and it has little shops for magicians with a big beard on there.
Where is Blood Ink? I like the vampire shop.
Then the weapon shop and so it's just cute and fun to look at. So it certainly is something that even big kids like me can appreciate, while also being stressful and being strategic. I think my feeling of accomplishment for pulling off a success in this game is bigger than for something that involves as many dice as the escape
because
games.
it feels more like luck helped you and not your way of
there's a chance that you lose without kind of being responsible.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, here, if you lose, you're
responsible.
You always know the two guys who are responsible. No, I mean in another game, the ones who made terrible decisions. Anyway, I think this is well deserved on the nomination list for the Spiel. I can see this totally being a family game. Although I would agree with you that this is something I probably wouldn't play more than two in a single evening.
But you can make it like a tradition. Every evening after dinner, 15 minutes you play and you see if you remember from the day before what went wrong and what maybe to make better with kids. So you really grab their attention and make them think maybe and want to accomplish something. Like we did with Ghost Stories, where we played until we got the nightmare scenario right, and just like...
But Ghost Stories, a single game of Ghost Stories takes much longer.
I know.
But that's what I mean. This is not an evening filling
it's not.
Game night
I would be brain melted like a blob and not a human being if I would have to play that for a whole night. It's really stressful, but it's kind of like, I mean, you release endorphins once you're done. It's like it's like a gym. It feels horrible when you're there, but it feels really nice afterwards. It's the same here.
This is like ringing endorsement for a board game. It feels horrible while you're playing it, but
super stressful.
Once you're done,
and it's really work. It's not just like pushing meeples around. It's really exhausting and it's work, but it feels really good once you're done, especially when you win. So. It's the closest comparison I could get to. I mean, for me personally, it's a supermarket, but not everybody is like me that way. I think people can relate to gym. So,
I think we can rate, which is it's a little bit difficult for me to rate this because I'm going to rate it for what it attempts to be and not necessarily for what it is for me, and I'll explain that in a second.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I see that as a kid's education game with a lot of fun.
I don't think there's much education.
No, you educate them in the point of being present in the moment. Thinking about stuff, maybe not screaming and shouting, but
I was
being there.
I was about to say for the real time exploration and games, which obviously there's a couple more by now. I really appreciate that because of the especially later on a little bit more additional mechanics going on, and that you have to do the planning and get through this. That being said, the real-time games in and of themselves are not necessarily very high up on the list of games I like to play. I like them as a filler game or really one session, but not much more than that. So while I like this is probably not something where I'd go to bed and say, hey, can we play this again and again and again? This is probably less going to happen. But as I said, I can see this being as a short dinner game, or whenever there's a lot of people over, or you just want to play something to get everybody to loosen up because they don't talk, and now you can finally do something with them where no talking is required. Actually, it's enforced. So stuff like this is where this game shines, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. We could, I can see that. Playing with my mom, she will be a headless chicken, and after the game she will be like this. Why did I not see? I'm so sorry, guys. We lost because of me. I can totally picture that, and I can also see it with your parents, your mom, being kind of cool with it, and your dad being, what do I do?
Yeah.
But it's like a whole comic strip or something in my head already. But well, let's talk about funny stories and experiences. There's two. First one being Daniel was on a business trip, and kind person that he is, he brought a little gift back for me in shape of a wine bottle.
Yeah,
and
you shall not imbibe, and
while he was traveling, the game arrived, so we had to wait for him to be back for us to have date night and play, because we need time. So we were sitting on the balcony on a very lovely evening playing this game, and stupid like we thought, well, let's open that bottle of wine and have a little sip with it, have a nice evening, it's date night. We are totally capable of playing this game. What we had not factored in is that it was a very potent wine, and one little glass of it already made us kind of tipsy, and it's really difficult then to play a game where you have to be present and aware and real time. So we had some grunting at the table. It probably came mostly out of me, like, why do I not see right away? So after that game, which we successfully finished, was the one sentence we both said, you have to play this sober. So the next time,
it helps at least.
The next time we thought, let's get some more people at the table. We were 4 players. We were all very sober. We were all of very sound mind, and we played the next scenario, the one where everybody has to get to their own exit. All very seasoned gamers. And the one thing you heard at the table
was nothing, because you're not allowed to talk.
Laughing, because we used one clock to talk, and we were like, excuse me, fuck it, guys, you have to be, why did you what? And people just laughing because they realized how screwed up their move was, and how totally senseless.
So things were, just to give you an idea, so things that happened were like, let's say this green guy wants to go over to his space here, and the guy with the teleport thing said, I think it's super useful to put him here. It's like,
what?
So, moral of the story is, sometimes it does help to have more alcohol at the table. Apparently, at least for very specific individuals. The less they interact with the game, the less you are interrupted or prevented from winning.
No, but I mean, halfway through the game, we realized, we're never gonna make it. So we just giggled really hard. We kind of grunted also and sighed very heavily because, well, we were sure this is totally fucked up. but we had a lot of fun. People were laughing.
Yes.
And that is always a very good thing when 4 grown-up adults are laughing really hard, but not because of a dirty joke or something, but because of non-communication and non-ability of moving the right pumple to the right side. And everybody screwed up. Like, it went like a chain around the table. I think Valentin started or I started. One of us screwed up first, and then it went around it like...
Yeah, the interesting thing that happens while playing the game is even more so when you have more players playing, is that you kind of look at what abilities you can do, and then you scan through all the 4 dudes, and does one of them need my attention? At least that's how I play it. However, other players tend to do that, to focus on a single guy. Okay, let's get him there, and
one after another.
Let's hope everybody at the table does look at the same guy too, and get him there, which is a valid strategy, although that requires a little bit more time. The problem with with your mind going through each of these 4 in a cycle and seeing if one of them needs your attention is that you might have forgotten where a specific guy is supposed to be. So,
and then you move those thingies, and then you, oh yeah, I need to, oh no, I don't have the escalator anymore. So I really liked that we were laughing so hard because of the ridiculous moves that we made, and the kind of being totally overwhelmed, and things, of course, then are funny. This is how you cope.
It might actually be, although I might be wrong on this, but then this is specifically good as long as you are not as, let's say, trained with other players to have a bulletproof strategy. I can see that being... having some merit if you're playing a really hard scenario and pull it off with everybody and are able to do that. But if you, let's say if you're playing this more often with the same crowd and you really get trained in this, I could see that this works where everybody is kind of subconsciously going through, okay, these are the 4
or
guys,
you just have an idea, okay, we just go for the orange dude first, and then the yellow, and then the green, so that you have kind of like an order in which you want to move your guys every scenario, or if you want to decide, okay, we go clockwise and scan all the time.
Like a mental priority list.
Exactly.
If we haven't found all 4 items or exit yet, keep on exploring. If there's a security camera up there, you can make sure to get rid of it if possible.
You can determine that before you even start the game. But I found it way more fun to not really set a strategy beforehand and just see how other players played. And I was so surprised that we screwed up so royally. I thought we would probably do like we did when just the 2 of us played, like last minute, get there, and it's like, no, not at all, not even close. And that was, for one, surprising, then of course very funny, because you just cope with the shit, and I do that by laughter. Other people seem to do that too, and it's just kind of funny how ridiculous it is when you imagine those 4 characters that are in like the heroes and have a hammer and an axe or whatever. And they're just running around the mall like headless chicken, like, I don't know, Justin Bieber is there and they want to have an autograph or something. This is how I imagine.
Wait, did you just say like headless chickens like Justin Bieber's?
No, like when he's in the mall and everybody wants an autograph, like, running like headless chicken, you know? Not the real chicken, but like chicken. And you know me for almost a decade.
I think we have reached the conclusion
that I have a weird mind
of talking about Magic Maze. Maybe we should now start playing so that silence happens at the table.
The Magic Maze. this is also in my brain. We don't. You said we don't play. I was kind of miffed this morning, but I understand where he comes from. It's really difficult to have silence at the table, but I was kind of miffed. And now you want to play? You're not. No. We are going to say goodbye.
Okay.
Then we can play. So, we hope you enjoyed this rambly-dambly podcast of...
the videos.
Yeah, video podcast. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Long format. You prepare your German lesson of the day. You haven't given them one.
I talked obwohl. They had the Pömpels, and now they had the obwohl, which means the although or but.
Very good. Can do that on the fly. So we are going to go now. We're going to enjoy our weekend. We hope you do the same thing. We hope you do the same thing and come back next Sunday for another very informative but weird Gamers Couch. At least we hope. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, as per usual. Also, you know the drill with the subscribing and the thumbs up. You are very smart people. And take good care, have fun. We're gonna see you next Sunday. Bye, folks. Bye. Hey, the dishwasher is done. You can now help me empty it. No?